Governor's Office of 몽골 Province, Untitled Company, Foundation of Intellectual Development of Gobi, UBS Television, present. One of the main routes that connected many countries of the world and their cultures is the Asian Tea Road. It keeps hundreds of years of history along with the traditions of countless people. It is impossible to imagine the tea road without Mongolian Gobi Desert and its caravans. Before the development of maritime transport, this trading route, which passed through Mongolia, was the shortest route connecting Asia and Europe. The tea route started in Beijing and Hukhot and passed through the area near present border checkpoint Qashun-Sukhat, Hamburg, Bayingovo, Hanhongor, and Bulgang, then through the territory of Haring, Olyastai. After crossing Hoft, it reached to Bisk and to the west Gucheng, Xinjiang. The remaining traces of tea road can still be seen in Hamburg, Bulgang, and Bayingovosum. About 3 meters wide, remnants and traces of the Great Tea Road can be seen in Bayinzak from the right broad ledge of famous flaming cliffs in the direction of Artsbog Mountains, Bulgang, which is the closest destination from tourist route. The tea road is the second most important trading route in the world, which connected Asia and Europe. We can see how significant it was from how the Russian city Kyakhta was able to stand right after St. Petersburg in second place by number of well-to-do citizens. Tea merchants on their way back after selling their products brought iron and ceramic products as well as fur from Russia. At that time, fur was highly valued in China. There are many things that prove this trading route was highly profitable. The safest and the most reliable transmission zone of the route passed through Mongolia. Although the goods were transported on camels, they could travel the area very fast. Camels could reach the speed of 72 to 120 kilometers a day, which makes 8 kilometers per hour. It may seem that they move slow, but their steps are large. There were two main routes. The first one went along the current railway line in the direction of our northern neighbor and was called the Great Tea Road. It ran about 20 yam, about 600 kilometers, 8 yam to the south and 12 to the north from Ulaanbaatar. The second route passed through Torngov and then Olyastai, running further through present Bulgansom in Hoft and finally through Ovs province and reached the borders of Russia. There was also a third route from Russian East far through Manchuria, then to the south of Dorne province territory. The fact that in the studies of the Third Central Asian expeditions of American Museum of Natural History in the mid of 1920s, Bayinzak is described as a place located 600 miles northwest of Chinese gates on the trade route in Hoft, testifies that in those days there were no other large settlements that served as landmarks in the region. However, this trade route was mentioned as Old Caravan Trail or the Way of Donkey Hong in some researchers' notes and in conversations of local residents. Bayinzak is considered as an important region in development of tourism in Mongolia. The descriptions of the locality in the book On the Trail of Ancient Men and also in other sources fully correspond to the peculiarities of Bayinzak, including the fact that the travelers almost do not observe the presence of people there, except for small local pastoralists. The author also regretfully noted that after the discovery of all the riches and beauties in this pristine area, a flood of people will ruin this unique beauty someday. Looking at the routes of the tea road, we concluded that each and every root was unalike, just like tree branches. In other words, there was no particularly decided way. The Silk Road that we all know of is also the same. Although there was the main way, the every country alternative paths and roads existed. Just like how blood flows through veins in human's body, so the trading route flowed along a multitude of roads that intersected in the large settlements and monasteries. Altyn Khan of Tumet is said to have had a great impact in the development of tea trade in Mongolia, while Altyn Khan of Hothot invited representatives of Russian Empire to the Lake Ovs area, where he served them a cup of tea and gave 200 packs of tea as a present to the Russian Tsar. In the opinion of some researchers, this has marked the beginning of broad introduction of tea in the upper circles of Russia. Thus, the foundation of Great Tea Road, the main channel for the development of tea trade between Russia, Mongolia and China, was laid. The tea road passed through Mongolia from 1728 to 1928 for exactly 200 years. The seasons also fitted very well. In China, tea was harvested in August, dried during September and October, weighed and packed starting from October. There were various packages, weighing 16 kilograms on average, which was 1 pud in Russian unit of mass at the time. After all of necessary procedures are done, by mid-October, rain season would be over in Mongolia. At that time, the name Mongolia referred to the territory north of Great Wall of China. It took 45 days to cross the country and reach Kyakhta. By this time, cold season was starting in Russia after the rains, allowing to transport the tea through frozen lakes and swamps of Siberia. Like so, favorable conditions were formed for the delivery of tea to Europe before spring. As the fundamental study of the joint Mongolian-Russian-Chinese project, Tea Road, in 2012, NGO Culture of Tea has developed a major historical and cultural tourism project in which specific documents and testimonies directly relating to the history of the road are presented. In particular, it was confirmed that before the development of maritime transport, this route was the shortest land route connecting Asia and Europe. A study of the transshipment points showed that the tea road had two main routes. The first route ran along the main line of Khalgan-Kure-Kyakhta, which stretches through Mongolia's central line. The second one ran along the western Mongolian route Khukhot-Olyasta-Khoft-Tsaganur-Bisk. In the book Historical and Cultural Monuments of Mongolia, it is suggested that this route of Tea Road was none other than one of the branches of the Silk Road. These two main routes of the Tea Road can independently of each other and without overlapping reach Russia. According to many researchers, the Tea Road had a great influence on the history of founding the current capital city of Mongolia. Having traveled almost half of the way for many days straight, the caravan stopped to rest in the valley of River Tul, beyond which the ranges of Bogd Mountain began, and then the southern outskirts of Siberian taiga, which affected the development and expansion located in this valley of the then Nisle-Kure capital camp or present Ulaanbaatar. The tea road stretched for 9,000 kilometers and reached Moscow. The tea grown in China was first taken to Khalgan and then delivered to Kyakhta through Tsamingud, Chor, Kure. The tea was wrapped in fresh hides and carried on camels. One caravan could consist of about 1,000 camels, on each of which they loaded up to 200 kilograms, and on wagons up to 400 kilograms of tea, covering from 30 to 40 kilometers a day, reached destination in 6 to 8 months. The goods brought from the southern regions of China, after having traveled many thousands of miles, passed through the customs in Kyakhta, were sorted and processed. At the time, in the area of Bazringol in Hanhongor, Umungol province, customs of Mongolia was being formed. It was through this area that goods passed from China to the depth of Mongolia along the route that the local residents called Yellow Path, and in fact were branches of the tea and silk roads. Information about tea road, which connected Asia and Europe and made a big impact on the history and culture of Mongolia, can be found in the cave Hurdit, where many archaeological discoveries were made. About 30 cave inscriptions left by Chinese and Mongolian caravans have been found here, which are still being studied at the Institute of History and Archaeology of Mongolian Academy of Science. Found in Baimboduk present cave Hurdit, the cave inscriptions are unique artifacts evidencing the history of the tea and silk roads, which have not been found until now, neither in China nor in Russia. Based on the results of the study, there will be undoubtedly new information about the tea road and its transshipment points, since so far very few of such artifacts have been studied. The cave is well preserved, as it is located in an inconspicuous place away from the settlements. Although shortly before the arrival of the researchers of the Institute of History and Archaeology of the Academy of Science, there were unknown people who visited the cave and erased some of the inscriptions in old Mongolian script, replacing them with texts in modern Chinese. Many inscriptions tell about travel notes and impressions of caravans and travelers, about the beauty of nature and its mysteries. With a deeper study, one can find notes about the profitability of trading business, as well as difficulties of being away from home and family. Here are some examples. The path along the far mountains and rivers will not be easy. Dear Lord of Cave Bulakt visited this place. Unique evidences of the Great Silk Road and Tea Road that connected Asia and Europe through the territory of Mongolia were found here in the cave of Hurdit. Our scientists and researchers believe that there was a spring called Baimbolak, or Rich Spring, under this cave. Chinese merchants and caravanners stopped to rest and spent the night around this area, and after gaining strength, continued their journey. This is evidenced by about 20 inscriptions in Chinese. The path ran along the right ledge of Bainzik in Bulgang, Umungol province, then through Artsbogut mountains to Kharkhoring, Khovd, Ulyaste, Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan. The area near Cave Hurdit is where exactly the road passed from China to Mongolia. 4 years ago, Ayutolgoy Company started the project on the search and restoration of historical and cultural monuments in the territory of Umungol province. This cave is one of the successful results of the projects and the main finding of researchers from the Institute of History and Archaeology of the Academy of Sciences. The rock inscriptions cover a historical period from 200 to 300 years. There is no doubt that this discovery will be an important push to the development of tourism in the places connected with this Great Silk Road and Tea Road in Mongolia, China, and Russia. The inscriptions in the cave of Hurdet prove that the route passing through the land of Baing-Ovasum, then through Hambogt, Hanghur, Bulgang, and Kharharing was also one of the branches of the Great Silk Road. In all likelihood, the inscriptions in the cave were left in the period after 18th century in Chinese. For example, Yongzheng area from 1722 to 1735, Xinglong area from 1735 to 1796, Jiaqing area from 1796 to 1820 are mentioned, indicating that the inscriptions were made at different times. In total, the inscriptions cover a period of almost 150 years of Qing dynasty rule, when from end of the 19th century until the first half of the 19th century, military administration, trade settlements were created in Mongolia. One of the branches of the Tea Road from Hukhot passed through the territory of Hambogt-sum in Umnrö province. Here, on the walls of the caves, there are inscriptions asking for good luck in trade in Chinese. And in the Bulgan-sum of Umnrö province, there is an area called Dalambuluk. The seals and stamps that were on the tea boxes were found carved on the wall of caves. On a clay rock near Pew Spring in the Khating-Rashang area in Bulgansum, there is an inscription telling how one of the rulers of the Manchurian dynasty, who was ill, got treated for several days in this place, and having recovered, praised the quality of pure spring water. It is noteworthy that the locals nicknamed this inscription Tea Note. Roy Chapman Andrews also wrote about the Tea Road. Once we met with Chinese merchants from the caravan who were coming back from Turkestan, Kashgar, and we took from them 2 handfuls of substance similar to coal by its looks, which they called sugar. The taste was sweet, and I gladly took it to the camp. We were surprised to find a trade route connecting the west and the east at this place, because on our maps this caravan route was not marked, and it was especially important for our cartographers to find out to where this path led. Roy Chapman Andrews worked in Mongolia from 1922 to 1925, making amazing discoveries in paleontology and archaeology. He wrote in his book about a meeting with caravans in Bainzag who were traveling from Shanxi, China. He noted that it was a very warm meeting. Following the traditions of the travelers, they treated each other with food and tea and also exchanged information. All this suggests that 100 years ago, an important trade route passed here. The road described so detailed in the book of Andrews is the road passing near Bainzag. So, Umnrö province is one of the main places of passage of the Tea Road, and there is no doubt that there are still many unknown branches of this large trade route. The sand being covered with the hooves of camels gradually becomes solid as a stone. There, a large blue tent of caravans can be seen. These are Chinese merchants traveling from Shanxi. On 200 camels, 20 men will continue their journey to the western outskirts of Mongolia, to the city of Hoft. Until 1903, when the East Siberian Railway was not yet constructed, the Tea Road served as a vital trade and economic channel linking Asia and Europe. From a historical point of view, the Tea Road was a continuation of the diplomatic, commercial, and cultural relations of the peoples of Eurasia with the rest of the world, starting from the time of Huns. Thus, the caravans that traveled along the Great Tea Road for 300 years did not just carry goods, but also became a symbol of development of trade and economic cooperation, cultural ties, and diplomatic relations between different countries.